I did this, actually. They did this for me. I walk in and they fucking decriminalized abortion immediately as soon as I did that. You know what I mean? Here's some good news. Here's some Mexico news that is actually very good. Mexico's Supreme Court, ladies and gentlemen, Mexico's Supreme Court has decriminalized abortion. Okay? My situation in Mexico has nothing to do with this. Obviously, my anger and my frustration is valid, but this is still good. So let's take a look.
Mexico's Supreme Court has declared loudly and clearly that access to abortion care is a human right, and any effort to stop it is a violation of those rights. Country's top court.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna fucking take the Mexico filter off, by the way. I think. Hold on. Let me fix my camera, guys, because I can't. What filter? No, it's too much. It's too much. Okay. It's too much. I'm doing serious news, man. I'm doing serious news. Okay? I can't be out here with a Mexico filter, dude. Jesus Christ. Like, this is gonna be on YouTube. When did you get back to LA? Yeah, I'm in LA again.
Rule the federal government's ban on abortion is unconstitutional, and reproductive rights activists are celebrating. CNN's Rafael Romo has the detail.
The effort to decriminalize abortion in Mexico has been going on for years, especially in Mexico City, where abortion rights groups have taken to the streets to say, "My body, my decision."
My immersion.
In fact, by the time the Mexican Supreme Court issued a ruling Wednesday decriminalizing abortion at the federal level, 12 out of 32 states had already invalidated laws banning abortion.
Our reaction was of pure joy and celebration, but also of being very proud of being part of this green wave, this movement that have been working to advance the abortion agenda.
In a statement, the court said that banning an abortion is unconstitutional because it violates the human rights of women and people with the capacity to gestate. Anti-abortion groups in Mexico.
I did this, actually. They did this for me. I walk in and they fucking decriminalized abortion immediately as soon as I did that. I stepped up.
Mexico blasted the ruling.
There are millions more Mexicans who are in favor of life from the moment of conception until natural death.
I love that. I love that they got their own hogs, dude. It's always my favorite thing to just like see the hogs of different countries and like how they operate. It's the same takes too. Fucking awesome. Oh, it's great. Thank you so much.
The Supreme Court first ruled that it was unconstitutional to criminalize abortion in 2021. On the same day, the ground shook in Mexico. The earthquake was felt for about a minute, but the shockwaves sent across the nation by that court's ruling are still being felt.
It is a black day for Mexico. The country is in mourning. The Supreme Court of Justice.
My favorite thing is like American media is so sick because like even when they're covering culture war issues, even when they're covering culture war shit, like they still have to get both sides. Now let me explain something to you. Let me explain something to you that I consider to be really fucking indecent. One thing that the media has been doing, I can't speak on polling in Mexico. Obviously, decriminalizing abortions is a net benefit. It's a good thing. I'm glad that it happened, right? But mainstream media has this tendency to literally both sides of the equation, no matter what we're talking about, no matter what the issue is. Like, for example, in the United States of America, abortion is not a controversial topic. It is not an issue that has, an equal amount of opposition as it does support. This is not a real question. If you don't ever look at the polls, however, and you only watch news, you will hear from the news that like, oh, it's a very divisive 50-50 issue. Plenty of Americans don't want it. That's why we, might have to criminalize it in certain areas. And it's like, that's not the case. That's not the case at all. I can't speak for Mexico, but it is 70-30 across the board, including in red states, even in deep red states. Okay? It's nutty that like there is this indecent interest in always trying to find the interlocutors. Media in Mexico don't get both sides. They get whatever side the government in power agrees with, because the media is bought and more journalists get killed here than in Ukraine. In Mexico, it is more divisive among the general population. Yeah, I can see that, but ultimately it doesn't matter. That's what the Supreme Court is there to do. Normally, in a situation, if our Supreme Court worked in the ways that it's supposed to, the Supreme Court is supposed to do things that are controversial, that are beneficial to the broader public, like in theory, right? Not controversial that is that further restricts people's rights. It's supposed to be always opening up new avenues for people, new civil liberties for people.
Justice, the highest legal institution in the country, the one in charge of watching over justice and human rights, both betray the first human right, without which no other human right can exist: life.
Back in 2020.
Yes, this is a majority Catholic country. I know, man. I know. It don't fucking matter. Okay? Cool seeing CNN use anti-choice instead of pro-life, though. Yeah, that is actually kind of cool that they're saying anti-choice instead of pro-life, because when they're American, they're pro-life. In America, they rarely ever fucking say, they never say anti-choice. But because it's in Mexico, they're like, anti-choice activists are slamming abortion decriminalization. I love seeing the way our news covers other countries, and if they have that like same smoke for our own nation doing identical things. But no, of course they do not. It's like if the American media covered American politics like they do Chinese politics, we would have communism here. Okay, like can you imagine if a new museum opens up and they're like, this museum is whitewashing historical atrocities committed by the American regime? Like, they would never do that. They would never in a fucking million years, like, offer the same kind of unified, broad coverage on mainstream media to, like, normal shit. Anyway, also, a lot of this Catholicism, of course, comes from, you know, colonization, that kind of shit, but whatever.
21, the court issued a decision on a law enacted in the northern state of Coahuila, which said that women who get an abortion may get punished with up to 3 years in prison and a fine. Exactly a week before Wednesday's ruling, Aguascalientes had decriminalized abortion, becoming the 12th state to do so. Mexico City was the first jurisdiction to end the ban on abortion in the country back in 2007, starting a trend in the still mostly conservative country where more than 3/4 of the population identify as Catholic. Abortion rights groups say even before the ruling, Mexico had already become a destination for some American women seeking an abortion.
Before, Mexican women used to go to the U.S. to look for abortion services. And now Mexico, more and more American women are coming to Mexico for services.
And while no woman can be prosecuted...
Most recent Mexico polls say slight majority anti-choice, but it's pretty close, and support for abortion has increased rapidly in recent years. There's 0% chance that the younger generation is not majority pro-choice. 0% chance.
...prosecuted any longer for having an abortion in Mexico. There are still 20 states where the procedure remains illegal, but the ruling paves the way for the federal healthcare system to start providing abortion.
Rafael Romo joining us now from Atlanta. Does this move represent a leftward shift in Mexico? That's certainly a question that's being asked on the back.
Yeah, well, Becky, just to give you an idea of how far to the left Mexico has moved, the party of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, a leftist, chose former Mexico City Mayor...
Yeah, AMLO. Leftist AMLO, dude. A far leftist AMLO, dude. He's such a leftist. That's why he taxed my ass. Communism has come to Mexico, folks. They're calling it Lexico. That's how left they are. Far left.
Mayor Claudia Sheinbaum Wednesday to run in next year's presidential elections. The 61-year-old is, politically speaking, completely aligned with the president. Meanwhile, the opposition has chosen another woman, former Senator Xochitl Gálvez. Even though there are many differences between them, they both support decriminalizing abortion, what happened yesterday. And Mexico is also the country with the second largest Catholic population in the Americas. 3/4 of its population identified as Catholic. But that...
I love seeing conservatives short circuit when you ask them if the woman deserves prison time. On the one hand, if the fetus is a human, then of course the mom should go to prison. She hired a hitman to kill her child. But on the other hand, every human intuitively understands that's insane and unethical, so they just flail. Yeah, the same question exists. The perfect question to ask anti-choice weirdos always is like, okay, what about cases of rape and incest, right? Because if they want to be morally consistent, they have to say, no, still you have to do an abortion, even in the case of a rape, or even in the case of like pedophilic rape and incest, right? They have to say yes, because it's still a life. And if they say yes, they're going to come across like gigantic fucking freaks like that Babylon Bee guy, okay? And if they say no, well, then you arrive at the reality that, of course, abortion is not fucking murdering a real life, and everybody kind of understands that.
Percentage used to be well over 90% during most of the second half of the last century, Becky.
Fascinating. Thank you. In the US.
You misspoke. You said to have an abortion. No, you have to birth a child. Yeah, sorry. If they force birth in instances where there is rape or incest, if they're advocating for that, every single person across the board is going to go, you're a freak, you're a psycho, I don't want to hear from you ever again. You are not a serious person. So they've completely fucked themselves over. And if they say no, then they understand that it's not actually murder. And most people don't believe that it's actually murder. The entirety of the Republican Party knew full well that it was not actually fucking murder. And that is precisely the reason why now they've shifted away from they've actually pushed for rape and incest provision, right? Anyway.
There are signs that many women are traveling to have abortions. A year after the US Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, a study shows that abortions have increased in states next to those where the procedure is banned. Researchers note that abortions had already been on the rise before the High Court ruling. The study was done by an organization that supports abortion.